Hello future LPTs! Welcome to this review session, designed to strengthen your preparation for the licensure examination for teachers. So in this video, we'll tackle 10 original multiple choice questions that cover the major mathematics domains tested in the Let. So we will have plane and solid geometry, linear algebra, analytic geometry, problem-solving, mathematical investigation and modeling, and also number theory. So each question is carefully crafted to reflect the style and rigor of the Let. More importantly, I won't just give you the answer, but also I will walk you through the step-by-step reasoning behind each solution. This way, you'll not only know the correct choice, but also understand the logic, formulas, and strategies that make it the right one. Think of this session as a guided practice. So I'll pose the question, present the options, reveal the answer, and then rationalize it in detail. So let's have our first question. A regular polygon has an interior angle measuring 150 degrees. How many sides does it have? So we have here the option A10, B12, C15, and D18. Now let's start to answer this problem. So for the formula for interior angle of a regular polygon, we have theta is equal to the quantity of n minus 2 multiplied by 180 all over n, where n is equal to the number of sides. Now let's set this interior angle to 150 degrees. So we will now have 150 is equal to n, the quantity of n minus 2 multiplied by 180 all over n. And then, let's multiply both sides by n. So we will now have 150n is equal to 180n is equal to 360. Now let's simplify the equation. So we will now have 30n is equal to 360. And then let's divide both sides by 30. So we will now have n is equal now to 12. So the answer will now be B, 12. So now let's have the second question. A cube has a surface area 216 centimeters squared, and let's find its volume. So in finding the volume of this one, let's have first solve the surface area. So the formula for the surface area of a cube is equal to 6s squared. And then let's substitute the given, which is the surface area, which is equal to 216 centimeters squared. Let's substitute it. So we will have 216 is equal to 6s squared. And then divide both sides by 6. We will now have s squared is equal to 36. And then let's have the square root of the both sides. So we will now have s is equal to 6. Now that we already identified our s, let's now proceed to find the volume. So the formula in finding the volume of a cube is equal to v is equal to s cube, wherein our s is equal now to 6. Now let's substitute the value of our s. So 6 cube is equal now to 216. So the volume of our cube is equal to 216. So the answer will be A, 216 centimeter cube. So let's have our third problem, which is solve the system 2x plus y is equal to 10 and then x minus y is equal to 2. But before we start to solve this problem, let's have to rearrange the second equation in terms of y. So we will now have y is equal to x minus 2. Now that we already have the value of our y, let's substitute it into the first equation. So we will now have 2x plus x minus 2 is equal to 10. And then let's simplify. So we will now have 3x minus 2 is equal to 10. And then let's transpose negative to the other side. So we will now have 3x is equal to 12. And then let's divide both sides by 4. So we will now have the value of x is equal to 4. Now that we already identify the value of our x, which is 4, let's substitute it let's substitute the value of x into our second equation, which is y is equal to x minus 2. If we substitute it, we will have y is equal to 4 minus 2, and then 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. So our y is equal to 2. So the value of our x is 4 and the value of our y is 2. So the answer would be A. Let's proceed to the problem number 4. Find the determinant of this matrix. So in finding the determinant of this one, we need to multiply AD and then BC, then subtract it later on. So now let's substitute their values. So we will have the value of A, which is 3, multiplied by the value of D, which is 4, minus the value of B, which is 2, and then the value of C, which is 5. So 3 multiplied by 4 is equal to 12, and then 2 multiplied by 5 is equal to 10. So 12 minus 2 is equal to 2. So the determinant of this matrix is equal to 2. So the answer is B. Now let's proceed to the problem number 5. Find the equation of the line through 1, 2 with the slope 3. So in finding the slope of this one, we will have the formula y minus y sub 1 is equal to m multiplied by x minus x sub 1. So the value of our y sub 1 is equal to 2, and then the value of our m, which is our slope, is equal to 3. And then the value of our x sub 1 is equal to 1. Now let's substitute this in our formula. So we will now have y minus 2 is equal to 3 multiplied by x minus 1. So the answer now will be letter B. Y minus 2 is equal to 3 multiplied by x minus 1. Now let's proceed to the problem number 6, which is find the midpoint of the line segment joining the point 2, 3 and then 7 and 11. So in finding the midpoint of these line segments, we will have the formula, the quantity of x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2, and then y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. So let's substitute their values. So the value of our x sub 1 is equal to 2, and then the value of our x sub 2 is equal to 7 all over. So we will now add 2 plus 7 is all over 2. Now let's proceed to the y. So the value of our y sub 1 is equal to 3, and then the value of our y sub 2 is equal to 11. So 3 plus 11 all over 2. Now since 2 plus 7 is equal to 9, then 3 plus 11 is equal to 14. So we will now have 9 over 2 and then 14 over 2. So 9 divided by 2 is equal to 4.5, and then 14 over 2 is equal to 7. So the value of our the midpoint now is 4.5 and then 7. So the answer now will be A. So now let's proceed to the problem number 7. A car travels 120 kilometers in 3 hours. What is the average speed? Now let's answer this one. So in finding the speed, we will have the formula distance divided by the time. So the distance here is 120 kilometers and our time here is equal to 3. So if we divide 120 into 3, we will now have 40 kilometers per hour. So the answer is letter B, 40 kilometers per hour. So let's proceed to problem number 8. A tank fills in 4 hours and empties in 6 hours. How long to fill when both inlet and outlet are open? So the filling rate of one tank is 4 hours. So we will have 1 over 4 per hour, and then in emptying rate, it takes 1 tank per hour per 6 hours, and then it is now equal to 1 over 6 per hour. Now let's subtract this too. So we will have 1/4 minus 1 over 6. So let's subtract this one. We will have 1 over 12. And then let's get the reciprocal of 1 over 12, which is 12. So it takes 12 hours to fill both inlet and outlet were open. So the answer is B, 12 hours. Now let's proceed to problem number 9. Find the greatest common factor or GCF of 84 and 126. In getting the GCF of these two, let's have first the prime factor of 84 and then 126. So the prime factor of 84 is 2 raised to 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 7. And then the prime factor of 126 is 2 multiplied by 3 squared multiplied by 7. And then their common factors are 2, 3, and then 7. So let's multiply their common factors. So 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 7 is equal now to 42. So the GCF of these two numbers is equal to 42, which is letter B. Now let's have our last problem. So what is the remainder when the sum of the digits 2025 is divided by 7? So our first step is to add the digits. So 2 plus 0 is 2, plus 2 is equal to 4, plus 5 is equal to 9. So their sum is equal to 9. And then let's have the let's subtract 9 into 7. So 9 minus 7 is equal to 2. So the remainder now is equal to 2. The answer now is letter B.